When Gary Vee says to win on social media today, you need another level of rigor. Just sitting down and having a random 2-hour conversation is cool for your diehard audience. But Diary of a CEO is split testing 100 thumbnails and trimming the fluff and optimizing the beginning and like thinking about the viewer audience retention through the entire episode. It's a whole different level of rigor. And it turns out that those that are winning on YouTube today are just putting in the time and they're playing the game at a different level. I actually do not think that this is inaccessible for your average person. I just think the average person has to count the cost if they're willing to do the work, because competition is highest on YouTube for lazy content, but you only have to get in the top 10% of content. 90% of people are just going to sit down and like start a podcast, record for an hour, turn it off, upload it, lazy title, and wonder why they don't get views. And if you go into the 10%, it's just you go in with an extra level, and is the stuff you were doing. It'd be coming back to that, but you don't have to do it. You delegate it. Like, who is architecting hooks, titles, angles? And then once it's all done too, by the way, but a really great editor could turn it into magic. If that person's not just sitting there like cutting out the ums and trimming the ends, they're an artist themselves, maybe orienting what questions should be in there, thinking about the viewer, time codes and chapters, breaking down the sections, thinking about how those are worded and really packaging it. You could even get a host. Like that host could then take your conversations where you just want to talk real and raw. And once it's done, they're like, in today's episode, maybe they've got world-class energy. They give an agenda. Our hook formula for YouTube is grab attention, set your authority, and set the agenda. So it's attention, authority, and agenda. You have to get attention. That's the trailer, the opening quote. What's the first sentence of the video? The opening lines. Create a couple open loops. Create some reasons in a world that's very busy of why am I going to stop and watch this in 2026? When I got so many other things to watch and I've watched a lot of things before, what are you going to say in the beginning of your video that's going to let people know there actually is fresh information in this is new, and this video is worth watching? There's a lot you want to get when you get attention. In every single video, you need to establish authority because there's cognitive dissonance. If you want to reach new people, they don't know why they should trust you. And there might be a lot of visual cues that immediately is like, oh man, was just another entrepreneur, bro. Even very shortly, but you being able to drop, if you want authority in a real estate room, you drop real estate math, you drop real estate numbers that you've hit. If you wanted authority in a content room, if you had a video on content, you might say, I'm like, I can relate. This is you talking in your hook. And and I get it. I struggled for years trying to create content, but then once I really figured it out, I was able to generate 1 billion views. And I intentionally bridging and correcting the cognitive dissonance that happens in authority. It might be 1, 2, 3 sentences. And then setting the agenda. If it's going to be an hour-long podcast, here's what's coming up, and this is an open loop. It's going to be valuable. This is what's coming up. The same old information, because everyone's just copying each other and echoing. It actually is doing the hard work to find new stuff, find the latest reports, think about the newest angles. And that is always happening. Real estate's always changing. Rates are always changing. Politics are always changing. Whatever your industry is, it's just being on the forefront. I had Ken McElroy on, and he's got a great, almost 500,000 subs podcast, doing a lot of multifamily stuff. But he actually said one of the reasons why his videos do so good and he's built an audience is he has to build decks for the board and for his investors, and he presents those to his investors with forecasts and all these numbers and all that something, and he has to do all this research. And so it's all this current really gangster information, and then he's like, and I already built it, so then I just go film a YouTube video, and I'm like, hey guys, this is what all the information is. But it's a ton of rigor to actually put out. It's not just like, hey, you should invest in real estate. Obviously, he's got crazy levels of depth and a system with which he's already going to that new, fresh information, turning it into YouTube videos. There's his workflow. Not super hard to create consistent content, but he has the respect and the continued following because it's actually new stuff. That was one of the things that Neil Patel said too. If you want fresh, like he said, the only thing working on social media right now is new. The only thing working, because there's so much, even the outlier strategy on YouTube is a strategy of going and looking at videos that already exist and then just copying them. It's a good strategy, but it's what you use tools like vidIQ to study the outliers in your industry and be like, oh, that topic on a small channel got a 10x to 100x the views. So I should make my version of that video. Not a bad idea, but you're still an echo.
Yeah.
You're echoing something that's already out there. So Neil Patel's strategy was use my tool, which he purchased, answerthepublic.com, which you can actually search, not just YouTube, but you can search Amazon, Google, TikTok, Instagram to spot something new that's happened this week, this month. And even if it's 1 or 2 months old, it's still probably pretty fresh. And there's always going to be new stuff, but that's what people will keep watching. But I would agree in 2026, if you're like, how to get started in real estate, like SEO title, 7 tips, bro, you're like, what are you doing? Like, of course, that basic title has been so saturated. A lot of other people are doing it. You've got to find those fresh angles with curiosity, with fresh SEO, how to get started in real estate in 2026, 7 changes and how to adapt to those, because maybe the laws are changed and, you know, the way commissions are giving. So people want fresh and new information. And that's why YouTube will actually never be saturated, because things are always changing, things are always moving, but it's going to come back to having the rigor to put in the work to create new content and stay on the cutting edge.
Number one, obviously, if you're going to do YouTube, period, you got to count the cost, because the cost is significantly higher today. Because even like just listening to you talk about like what I need to do, it's like, okay, well, you know what? If I really want to do it, it's going to take reinvesting into more team members who are going to do the little things that we don't currently do. And, you know, finding that those team members, it takes time, it takes, you know, effort and money and all these things. And so that's like step 1. Step 2.
Let me just stop you though, because you gave me this advice.
Okay.
And so you already know how to do this. I am just calling out your own myth with your own advice, because this is what I've learned from you. You do not need to find team members. You need to find team member, singular. You told me I hire top down.
Yeah.
You said, Sean, I hire top down. I go, Brian, how do you start? I go, Ryan, how do you start
a new business?
A new business every single day. You're like, I hire somebody to operate it from day one.
Yeah.
And then I realized my pattern up to this point, background as a youth pastor, money mindsets, mode of operation was I'm a bottom up. I've built bottom up, you know, like built just, which has been awesome, but like trained people, literally had the patience over years to impart the skills, which is like a youth pastor would do. So it's a paradigm shift to think top down. So not to like completely cut you off, but I would say like the answer is closer than it appears when back to that shredder. I think it's the one person who thinks even about the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other individuals, and they're responsible. And if you give Sam $1 million, and I don't think you need anywhere near that amount of money to talk about the results we're talking, but if you just one person budget, go nuts, let's crush this over the next 3 to 6 months, then the hard work is finding a unicorn in the forest of the earth. But it's one unicorn.
Right. And then, so one thing that we're doing is this golf business, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm starting this golf mastermind, and, you know, basically it's all high level entrepreneurs. Most are 7-8 figures. We're going to go golf at bucket list stuff and, you know, talk business, deals, all this cool stuff. So I'm excited about that. And one way that I'm thinking about promoting it is I have a second channel that I haven't used in years that had 50,000 subs, and is where I used to do the podcast before I put it on the main channel. And I'm thinking about changing that channel to a golf channel, because these guys and women are going to be golfing with me every Friday. So that's part of the gig for at least for our founders. It's like, hey, you know, if you join this mastermind, you're going to get to come out to golf with me here in Vegas, and, you know, we're going to film it. And I've been watching a lot of golf content. So I'm kind of like pretty familiar with all the strategies in golf YouTube. And I'm also good enough at golf now where it's actually like probably really entertaining competition wise. So I'm just thinking about how that fits into what we're doing. Cause that's a whole new channel with, you know, no proven results or anything. And like, you know, It's a passion project. And, you know, whether it brings in people or not, I know we'll acquire people regardless. Without the channel, we'll require. But with that channel, I mean, I think it really blows up, and I'm doing it anyways. So just I've been thinking about how does that play into the whole ecosystem of the content I'm creating?
I mean, I think you're a part of the strategy meetings, but it is taking that time to whiteboard it out and go deep to just say, what's the new era? What's like the new container? And I also wonder, have you ever heard about the law of three?
No.
Like, basically every time your business triples, it breaks.
Okay.
And it's the idea of if you're at 100K, it's one thing. If you get to 300K, no big deal. But from 300K to $1 million, everything breaks. Your systems, your team. And then, you know, from $1 million to 3 million, everything breaks again. And that could be staff, personnel, but it also could be income. Did you find it?
It says there's a lot of different laws of three.
Let me just ask, what's the law of three where every time things triple, it breaks? Your team and the communication channels multiply. And then also, like, if your revenue triples, it breaks. The law of three, rule of three by Hiroshi Mikitani, founder of Ratuken, the affiliate. Right, so pretty big. Every time your company triples in size or increases by a factor of 10, everything breaks. Your system, your processes, your people, your communication needs to be reinvented. So from solo to 3, and you've been through all these stages. That's one level. And so then 3 to 10, then 30 to 100. And so anyways, I guess it's kind of like, I think that a lot of clarity and peace would come to your content department, and maybe even a reorg, in the sense of, you already are bought into the media company concept, and you already have one. We're clearly in your studio, like you've invested in it. But I think it's maybe a thought of what is the 4.0 version.
Yeah,
of
we haven't reinvented.
Your media company.
Yeah.